Welcome to the Tipsy Guest Podcast. I am your host, Marco Buenrostro, and every week I'm here with the top industry experts, amazing clients, and all my vendor BFFs to bring you the best tips, advice, and juicy behind-the-scenes stories to make wedding and event planning a breeze. So grab your favorite drink and let's get this party started! Hey guys, welcome back to the Tipsy Guest. I am Marco, your host, and today we are going to be talking about something that is a little controversial because everybody wants to be a wedding planner, but today we'll be talking about why you should hire an actual professional and not your cousin or your tia or your tío. And for that, we have Chantel from Elite Event Planning. Hello.
Hello. So excited to be here.
I feel like I can never pronounce your name. How do you, what's the real?
Well, so we're Hispanic, obviously. So it's really supposed to be like Chantal.
Like the actress?
Yes, kind of, sort of. But everyone says Chantel, or some people say, some people will be like Chanel. And I'm like, no,
oh
it's
my
Chantel.
Goodness.
They're like with an A, but it's E-L. So it's Chantel.
Chantel.
Yes.
Ooh,
yes.
I like that. It sounds fancy. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being with me today.
Yes, I'm so excited to be
very
here.
excited. We've been talking about it and I was finally able to get you here.
Yes.
You're so busy.
I know. Yes. We have a lot going on. It's full on wedding season, and we don't just do planning. We do a lot of other things. So we're kind of all over the place, but happy to have been able to get some time to sit down with you.
I love it. Well, welcome. And since you just mentioned that you do other things, let our listeners know exactly what you do. How can you help them make their wedding amazing? They need to know it all.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Chantel. I'm the owner of Elite Event Planning. So we are a wedding planning company here in San Antonio, but we also serve Hill Country, Austin areas, literally anywhere you want us to go. Just play for our plane ticket.
Right?
But we also have a floral company and a bartending company. So I have actually been in the industry pretty much all of my life. My parents have been in the industry for 20 plus years. So they individually have a bartending company and a floral company. And as I was growing up, I would help and assist with floral. And, sometimes when I was of age, I was a bartender once upon a time.
Oh my goodness.
And so, my mom actually was the one who ended up starting wedding coordinating as she was doing florals. I got to a point where she was like, okay, listen, like I have to come back here at midnight to pick up my vases and my rentals. Like, why don't I just stay? Like, I know everything that's going on. I can do this. So she ended up starting that. And she did really good with it for about 3 years. And then I came in and I started helping her, and she was like, hey, listen, if this is something that you want to do, like, go for it. You're good at it. You know how to tell people what to do. And I'm like, yeah, I do.
You're like, I got it.
So, I decided to open my company in 2015. I was honestly really scared at the beginning. I was like, what if nobody hires me? Like, what am I going to do? And I'm really, really grateful to my parents till this day, because they really, I had already known a lot of people when I moved into the industry as a wedding planner, from the floral and the bartending company. A lot of people had already known us, known our family. So it kind of gave me a little bit of an extra step in, which I'm really, really grateful for. And now, 9 years in, we're averaging like 50 to 57 weddings a year.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been amazing.
That is so cool. Yeah, I mean, I see you everywhere, and you are so active on social media. I love all your TikToks, all your reels.
Yes.
They're so much fun.
I'm trying, I feel like this, around, this type of generation, you just have to be active. You have to show your face. People want to know who you are. And I feel like that's just the best way to show what our company is and what we're about. So I've recently started on the TikTok trend. I'm very fresh, so
it's really cool though.
Yeah.
I'm always taking notes from your reels, because it's so cool. Like, you show all the behind the scenes and like your daily life.
Yeah.
As you're getting to events, as you're getting ready in the morning. I just saw the other day one where you, I think it was like live and something where you were taking your dog out, and as you start your date, and then you get ready for work, and then you drive to the wedding place. So it's really cool. And yes, I think it's a great way for you to connect with potential clients and your actual clients as well, because they get to see what you do, and they don't just see like the face of the company, but they see your life. Like that is really, really cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
Especially because we do play such a large role in weddings, but we also don't just live and breathe wedding planning. We have a life. I have a family. I have a husband. I have dogs, So I just want to show them a little bit of a different side so that way they can get to know us a little bit better. And I feel like that builds a better connection.
Yeah. And I know you got married a few years ago.
We did, yes.
Who did your planning? Was it you? You did your own?
I pretty much did my planning, everything, but we just hired someone to kind of execute the day of the wedding. I kind of handed everything over and I was like, hey, can you just take care of this for me? And I handed it over and I knew we were in good hands.
Were you at one point during your actual wedding, were you like checking on things, or did you forget about it and just enjoy it?
No, I actually didn't. I kind of forgot about it. I feel like my mom was the one that was kind of like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. But I was very much in the moment and kind of just enjoying things. When we got married, it was kind of like in the midst of COVID. So what actually happened was our original wedding date, we had to postpone our actual celebration because we were inviting like 300 plus people.
Oh, and you couldn't.
And it just wasn't safe. We could at that time, but we just decided like, hey, like, let's just play it safe. We don't want anyone to get sick. So we still got married on that date. We had it in a little chapel, like it was 10 of us. And then we got married in January. And then that September, we had our celebration. We still got married in a church and everything as if we hadn't done it before. So it was a little bit more laid back. It wasn't necessarily super nerve-wracking or anything like that. So yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I kept seeing your post about it, and it looked beautiful. So,
thank you.
I mean, you're a pro, so of course your wedding had to be beautiful.
I wanted absolutely everything. There was some things that my dad was like, absolutely not.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, now that we got to know you a little bit, or our listeners, I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
Let's dive right in. I think today's topic is one of those things that a lot of people decide to go that specific route, and then later they regret it. So give me all your advice. Let our listeners know why they should hire a professional and not their family member or a friend or somebody that they just found on Facebook, like talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I would necessarily say that this is just strictly like for wedding planners. I think this is across the board for any wedding vendor that you're hiring. Obviously a venue is someone that you're going to hire and they're going to have recommendations. And some venues have, you're required to book this caterer or this bartending service, or you're required to use off of our list of planners. And there's a reason that they do that. That reason is because there are rules that you need to follow, regulations for the venue. And so they're putting them on that list because they know, hey, if you hire from these people, we know everything's going to be tip top. Okay. There's nothing that you guys are going to have to worry about. And that's what's really important is you want to make sure that you have an A+ vendor team at your wedding, because that's going to make or break your wedding. If you have bad food, everyone's going to know, oh my gosh, can you imagine, like, can you remember that they had horrible food?
Yes.
Like it wasn't good. The chicken was like so dry and the sauce was so salty. Like, you want to make sure that you have those vendors because it's something that people are going to remember, not only you, but your family and your friends. And it's something that they're going to talk about because whatever you have is setting the tone for your event that people are going to talk about for years to come.
For some reason, people always, I guess food, I love food. So yeah, I think food is very important, because I think that's what people are going to remember.
Yeah.
I think some people care more about the food than the flowers or like other things at the wedding. But like you said, like any vendor, like it doesn't just apply to certain ones, like it applies to every single vendor.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've run into so many instances where there's sometimes that people just hire us for 30 days out from their wedding, which is perfectly fine. We do try to set them up for success. We're like, as soon as they book, like here's our preferred vendor list. This is really who we recommend that you go with. An A+ vendor team is really the key to having an amazing wedding. And some people are like, yes, thank you, so amazing. And then I feel like they move on to their wedding planning process and they completely forget that we ever even sent that to them. So when it comes time to having our timeline meeting and we start talking with them and we're like, hey, who's your DJ? When you filled out your questionnaire, we noticed that there wasn't anyone there. Oh, well, it's a family friend that my uncle knows and he's DJ'd at a bar before. And automatically I'm like, okay, red flag. This is going to be a really difficult event. And obviously we reach out to those vendors and we're like, hey, listen, we are their wedding coordinator for the day of the event. This is the timeline. This is how everything is going to be run. Let us know if you want to hop on a call so we can discuss things. Half of the time, we don't ever get a response from them.
It's because they're not used to
Exactly.
it. They just show up to a club and start, mixing or playing.
Exactly. So then, of course, we'll do our follow-ups the week of the wedding, send it out the beginning of the week, still nothing. Call them, still nothing. And then they finally reach out a couple of days before the wedding. They're like, yeah, we'll be there. Like, we got it. We're good. Half the time they come in and they're rushing, like they don't know what they're doing because they never got the information. They never took time to look through anything. And then we go up to them and we're like, hey, like, let's talk through the timeline. Yeah, we got it. We got this song for this time. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be our cue. So when I say we're ready to go, I'm going to give you a thumbs up. When I'm going to change the songs, we're going to give you this signal, and they don't pay attention, or their mic is cutting out during the ceremony.
Oh, no.
Or, even the music starts to cut in and out because they're not usually using professional equipment. It's just, we've had really, really bad experiences, and we want our clients to have the most amazing wedding day, and really the vendors are the key to it. So if you're hiring your Uncle Sam to do your DJ and he works at a club and only does, bar music or anything like that, he's not the person for you.
It's a complete different experience. I mean, you go to a bar to party,
right.
And the vibe is completely
Exactly.
different than an actual wedding. I mean, there's different moments throughout the wedding that, you have to
Right.
do certain things, and oh my gosh.
Exactly. Special introductions. I mean, there was one time that we were at a wedding where I literally was having to tell this DJ, you need to say this word, these exact words as I'm telling you. Everyone please stay seated. Dinner will be served shortly, or please be seated. The planner will go around and release your tables. And he would look at me and say, wait, what do I say again? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, and I'm not someone to talk on the microphone, but if I need to,
jump on
obviously,
it.
like, I'm going to jump on it because it just gets to a point where it's ridiculous. It's like, come on, like, this is a wedding. We want to make sure it's organized. And that's one of the biggest things. So 100% hiring a professional DJ, photographer, anything. And not just necessarily professionals that, actually do this for a living, but they have insurance. They have a platform. They have a website. If they don't have a website, that's another red flag. If you find them on Facebook, and they say, hey, I DJ, it's 5 hours for $800, that is a huge red flag.
Yeah, I've always said it, and of course there's weddings, there's budgets for, all kinds of weddings.
Right.
But I've always said it, if your vendor is really cheap, to me, that is automatically a no. I mean, again, there's different budgets for everybody, but I honestly think whenever I see something so cheap, it's always going to end up costing you more.
In the end, yeah.
I was looking at, I was on Facebook earlier, and I saw an ad from this website, Bark. I don't know if you're familiar with Bark.
For dogs, yeah.
Which not the one for dogs.
For wedding professionals.
For wedding professional, which I don't know why it's called Bark.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was I don't know why I just got the sponsored ad. I guess because I like a bunch of wedding stuff. And there was one, and I guess it was specific to me, for example, for photo booths, that it said, get a photo booth for the entire day for $200 or something like that. So I was like, you know what, this is going to be juicy. Let me go to the comments and see what people are saying. And then, of course, you see in the comments a lot of professional photo booth owners that they're almost like, going in there and saying like, hey, don't trust this app because, it's going to end up costing you more and blah, blah, blah. And, photo booth owners trying to say like, hey, it doesn't cost $200. That's how much we spend to do the event. Like, that means that the person that you're going to hire, they're not really making money, blah, blah. Just, that's a whole different subject. But to my point is, there was one comment that stood out for me. And it was I'm assuming it was a potential, or a bride, I guess. And she made a comment that said, oh my gosh, I just booked my photo booth. My event is in 2 weeks. I'm very excited. I was like, okay, cool. Then there's another comment under 2 weeks later from the same person responding to that same comment that she was very excited. And she said, hey, my photo booth person never showed up. And then I was like, oh my God, the comments are going to be the best. And yes, Bark replied right away. They're like, hey, we are not responsible for that. Like, we just promote blah, blah, blah. I guess just covering themselves. Mm-hmm. But then all of the other people jumped in, like the photo booth owners that were commenting before, they were like, we told you so. If you go with
Yeah.
somebody cheap, it's going to end up costing you more. This person didn't show up. Now you lost your $200 or whatever amount you paid. And if you ended up, like hiring somebody else on like last minute, then you ended up paying more.
Exactly.
So it just happens. It's crazy.
Yeah, because there are companies out there that are considered professional companies, but they are all like corporations, and they can say that they service Texas and they service Florida and they service Virginia and all of these locations. And we've had this happen before where they're like, hey, we do DJ, we do photo, we do video, we do photo booth, and the client hires them. And the day of, it's a total disaster because the people that they're hiring are all contractors.
Yep.
They don't work for the company. They don't believe, if the company has certain regulations that they have to go with, they don't follow those. They don't work for this company all the time. They're just trying to get their paycheck. They don't care.
They don't care. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild to me. It happened to me not too long ago where I had a company reach out to me from California. And they were hired to do an event here in San Antonio, and they were trying to subcontract me to do the event. And it was so funny because I was already working that event. So I guess that it was a huge event.
Oh, wow.
And they hired me to do a part of the service, and then they hired the other company from LA to do another part of the service. So the company from California was reaching out to me to subcontract me, without knowing that I was already at this event.
Yeah.
So I told them, I was like, hey, I was completely honest with them. I was like, hey, I'm already part of the event. We'd be happy to help because we already know this client. We've worked with them in the past. So, if you want to subcontract me, we're happy to do it. And I guess they just ended up not doing it. Maybe I was too expensive because I feel like what they do, like these national companies, they subcontract locals wherever the event is, but they try to pay them like way less so that they keep the money, and then they don't even care what the quality is.
Yeah.
So I guess in this case, this person, like, they didn't end up hiring me, and I don't know what ever happened with the rest of the event, but the event already happened. We went and we did see the other company working there, but I didn't really ask, like, hey, are you like the real company or are you a subcontracted vendor? I mean, I didn't care, honestly. Like, it was,
Right.
I was not going to get into that because it was not really my business. But yes, that's normally what people do when they say that they offer all these kinds of things. Always, this is a pro tip right here for our couples listening. Always ask. There's so many questions that you can ask, like, are you really local? Are, who's going to be at the event? Like, do you service more than one wedding per night? Like, what if your equipment breaks down? Like, what happens?
Right.
Always get those answers from the vendors that you book, right?
Not only that, but making sure that you look at their reviews. A lot of those companies are going to have thousands of reviews. And of course, they're going to have like a 4.8 average. But if you really go through and look at them, a lot of them are negative reviews.
Yeah.
I remember this one wedding that we were at. It was a couple years ago, and it was one of those companies that was like photo, video, DJ, photo booth. And it was really, really bad. I felt really bad for the bride because it got to a point where the photographers were standing there. They were not giving them any direction of what to do. We were literally like telling the bride, like, hey, pose like this. Groom, come around and grab her hand, turn and kiss. Like, we were doing that. And we're not photographers, we're your wedding planner. We're trying to make sure that everything is running smoothly. But these people were just standing there, or they were nowhere to be found at some point. The photo booth backdrop was like crooked.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like this man, and he was sitting on a chair, and he was like really oversized. Like, he couldn't even necessarily like maneuver around. The DJ was supposed to have microphones, and he didn't even have a microphone. The entire night, he was using a lapel microphone to make announcements. When they were giving the toast, they had to use the lapel microphone. The sound was going in and out for a good amount of time. There was no sound. And then the photographer and videographer were just like, they got picked up like off the street downtown San Antonio. They looked like tourists. They looked like they had never been to this area before. They didn't know what to do. It was really, really weird. This is like a little tea from that event.
I love it.
It was at a hotel downtown, and downtown there's creatures, right?
Of course.
things that happen. So me and my sister were outside. I think it was during the dance portion. And I walked inside to make sure that they were going to get ready to cut the cake. I came back out and I was like, hey, have you seen the photographer? And she's like, yeah, I think I saw her over there by like the stairwell. So I go up to her and I'm like, hey, like we're about to get ready to cut the cake. She was like, I found a little friend. And I was like, what do you mean? Let me tell you.
Oh my gosh.
She picks up out of her hands and it's this mouse. And I was like, stop it right now. I was like, put that down. Like why are you touching that? And she's like, oh my gosh, no, I think it's hurt. Like it needs food. And I'm like, I need you to go take pictures cutting the cake. Like, what are you doing? And she's like, okay. So I walk inside. She follows me. I get busy doing something else. And then I come back out. And I guess my assistant had stayed out there. I think she may have been talking to one of the other vendors. And I come out and she was like, girl. I was like, what? I was like, guess what she did? She goes, guess what she did? And I was like, what? She goes, go look under the stairwell.
Oh, no.
I have a picture of this because I know nobody will believe me. It is a plastic cup. The mouse is in the cup. And then there's another cup on top. Like she was taking it home.
What the hell?
I was like, what are you doing?
Did you let it go or did you just leave it there?
I didn't touch it. I'm not touching that thing. But I was like, what kind of weirdo? Like, that's what I'm telling you. You don't know who you're hiring. Like, this person literally picked up a mouse from the streets of downtown and was going to take it to her house.
I cannot even. Nope. That's not for me.
Me neither. And, I don't know what ended up happening. I followed up with the bride about her photos and she was like, hey, we're still trying to figure out when we're going to get them. I don't know if she ever got them. I didn't hear from her again, but I know that they got a really bad review. But I mean, things like that, you want to make sure that you know who you're hiring, even if it's a team of people, you want to make sure that you communicate with them ahead of time because they had never heard from these people before.
Yeah.
They didn't even know who they were. Like I said, it looked like they had just come in from out of the street. Like they had never done this before. And they're paying them a lot of money. And sometimes, I mean, I get it. They're going to be like, oh, photo and video for $1,500. And it's like,
let's do it.
Yeah. For 8 hours, I don't think so. So, yeah, it's just really, that is the main thing. As a wedding planner, we want your wedding to run smoothly. We want you to make sure that you're hiring professionals, hiring people that are not going to take a friend home at the end of the night.
Right.
And that's really the most important thing.
I think, for example, not only, I mean, of course, the professional side of it, it's definitely important. But I feel also like if you end up going with, a friend or a cousin or something like that, that could potentially ruin that relationship, because if something goes wrong,
of course,
then you're going to blame them. And if it's your cousin or your best friend, then that's going to change your friendship.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Try to avoid that. That's definitely not a good thing.
Yeah, especially if it's not. I understand if you're a professional company and your friend says like, hey, could you do this for me? That's understandable. But you want to make sure that you have that, friend disconnection from the business side.
For sure.
But if it's an aunt saying, well, I coordinate weddings at my office space. I'm the event coordinator for, whatever bank you work at, it might be. And I can do it for you. Like, I'll do it. It's okay. That doesn't work either.
Mm-mm.
Your aunt is going to be maybe getting hair and makeup. Who's going to make sure that your vendors are being checked in? Who's going to set out your personal decor? As you're walking down the aisle, maybe she wants to sit in the audience. She doesn't want to make sure you get down the aisle. There's so many
when it comes to the
things.
moment, she's not going to really be paying attention to that.
She might help you as you are approaching the day, but she's not going to be there the day of the wedding.
Yeah, she wants to enjoy the party.
She wants to be present with the party. She wants to drink.
All right. Well, you heard it here at the Tipsy Guest, guys. Do not go with your friends. Do not hire your family members. Hire professionals. Make sure you look at their reviews. Make sure you look at their websites, their social media. I mean, social media can tell you a lot. I get a lot of clients from social media because I'm always very active on social media and I post really good stuff. So yeah, always be on the lookout. Chantel, thank you so much for being here today. I'm sure you'll be back.
I'm sure we have so much to talk about.
Yes. We can honestly go for hours with this conversation. But for now, this is it. I'll make sure to add your website and your social media stuff on the show notes and the blog for this episode. So make sure you guys check it out. And again, thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me. Can't wait to be back.
I know. All right, guys, thank you so much. Until next time, cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Tipsy Guest podcast. If you know someone who could benefit from these tips, spread the love and share it with them. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Next round's on us. Same time, same place. Cheers! This podcast is brought to you by MVP Photo Booth, the #1 photo booth rental company in San Antonio, Austin, and Central Texas.